The Marty and Laura Show is brought to you by Veterinary Village. With locations throughout Wisconsin, Veterinary Village is dedicated to enhancing the quality of animal and human lives today and into the future. All right, you guys, welcome to the Marty and Laura Show. I am Laura.
And I'm Marty.
And today we have a really fun conversation for our people out there who are contemplating acquiring a new puppy. And we are going to talk about how much is that doggie in the window? How much is that doggie? Yeah, okay.
No more singing.
No more singing. I know, I'm not allowed. My mother once told me I couldn't carry a tune in a handbasket, so, you know. It's a struggle. So, when you look to acquire a new puppy, no matter what, you get what you pay for becomes a real conversation. So talk us through some of that, and from the veterinary perspective, what kind of investment are people who are breeding dogs to go into new homes in a responsible way? What are the kind of investments they're making?
I think that's a great question. So there's two general categories of testing. There's phenotype testing and genotype testing. And then there's just your basic comprehensive physical exam and all the other things that lead up to breeding. So genotype testing is genetic testing, DNA testing. That's a cheek swab, a blood sample, whatever it happens to be. And it's based on which tests should you run based on what breed do you have and what are the historical concerns that have been found in that breed and what DNA tests do we have. We have a lot of great DNA tests now. If you send in a sample to OraVet, you get 350 test results back. It's pretty great. In general, 347 of aren't applicable to your breed, or they may be traits, which are interesting, but not necessarily reason for health concern. It may tell you if they're going to have the Irish cross, or it may tell you if they're going to have a wavy coat or a curly coat, but those don't really have any health ramifications. More importantly, are they going to develop blindness from PRA? What other kind of health problems are we going to see that are related to something we can DNA test for? Unfortunately, at this point, some of the really important diseases like cancer and epilepsy, we still don't have tests for. And it's not for lack of trying, it's not for lack of effort. The researchers have put a gajillion hours into it. 25 years ago, I was sending DNA samples to Yami Mariano when he was at AMC in Denver, trying to look for lymphoma, and we still don't have DNA tests for lymphoma, hemangiosarcoma, mast cell tumors, some of those kinds of cancers that are really important. We still don't have it for epilepsy, for a lot of other disorders. There's one disease that we can test for epilepsy, and that's Lefora's disease, but that's typically a 7-year-old Basset, and so it doesn't apply universally
Right.
to the number of dogs that I would like to be able to say it applied to.
Yeah.
So that test runs under $200, but you may want to have some more specific testing done based on your breed. For instance, Labradors now have a DNA test for cruciate rupture. That test all by itself is $250 to the lab, not counting the veterinarian's time or input or any of those other things. So you can easily spend $1,000 doing DNA testing. So that's step one. Step two at the veterinary clinic is going to be general health testing, physical exam. Does the dog have an umbilical hernia, patellar luxation, an abnormal bite, any other kind of conditions that we can find on physical exam, but aren't necessarily things that are screened for specifically by OFA for phenotype testing. Canine brucellosis. It's an infectious disease you need to test before you breed your dogs to make sure that they don't have it. Lyme disease, anaplasmosis, and Ehrlichia should be tested for before you breed your bitch, because if she's running with any kind of exposure to Lyme disease and she gets pregnant, then Lyme disease can flare up. So there's a whole array of things that aren't necessarily pre-breeding from the perspective of what your breed club expects for you to do, but from what you should do to do the right thing to have a healthy litter. And then the third category is the phenotype testing, and those are observation tests. Most of those are going to be information that you file with OFA. Hip x-rays, elbow x-rays, shoulders, heart exams that have to be done by a cardiologist if you want to have auscultation or an echocardiogram for certain breeds, ophthalmology exams, and we have DNA tests for eye things, and we have ophthalmology tests. Those all check for eye things, but they're not duplicating each other.
Mhm.
There's a little overlap, but most of the time they're completely separate. So you need to do both the ophthalmic exam with an ophthalmologist and the DNA test for PLL or PRA, or you pick the disease that goes with it. And so those BOAS testing, which is the brachycephalic obstructive
Mhm.
airway syndrome testing for the brachycephalics. Currently, that's pugs, Frenchies, and bulldogs, but that'll be expanding into some other breeds. So there's a whole array
Right.
of tests that your veterinarian needs to be involved with. And so that requires some veterinary expenses to the breeder before they even get to the point of saying, okay, she's 2 now, I can breed her. You have to do all this stuff at age 2. So they may have spent 2 years growing up a dog, a female or a male, planning to breed. You walk into the veterinary clinic on the day she turns 2, and you look at the x-ray and say, yeah, no, she's out. Very disappointing. So that's a
Right.
false start. That's a real setback for a lot of people.
And I think there's a couple important things here. The reason that the breeders that you are hoping to acquire your new puppy from are spending all of this money, which can quite easily hit 2 grand before you even think about walking out the door. And that's just for one female. Um, doesn't include the amount of money spent on a whole bunch of other things, is because they're trying to give you a better chance of having a healthy dog.
Exactly. And the purchase of a dog. I just purchased a dog from overseas. It's the cost of keeping the dog in the country where he is until he can enter the United States at 6 months of age will double the cost of the puppy,
Mhm.
which is fine. But a stud dog's not inexpensive. A bitch isn't inexpensive. So it's an expensive proposition to acquire your breeding stock, whether you keep them or purchase them, and then to get through all the health screenings, the shipping, all the stuff that
Mhm.
goes with it.
Mhm.
And that's before you even start with how much does it cost to do the progesterone testing to time the breeding? How much does it cost to have the female bred? If you're going to need to have artificial insemination, if you're using frozen semen, fresh chilled semen, anything like that, you're going to have veterinary expenses associated with it. The cost of shipping the semen, it can cost $1,000 to ship
Mhm.
semen.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't count the stud fee. Then you pay a stud fee, which is typically equal to the price of one puppy. That's kind of the average going rate for most breeds.
Mhm.
Kind of gives you a little bit of a foundation for what that's going to be. And then what if you end up with one puppy
Yes.
or
Let can I
worse?
can I tell the story? So here's my story. I mean, this is just one person with one situation that is not even extra. I had 2 litters that I was planning to do, and both of them were frozen semen. So lots of money spent on the progesterone, lots of money spent flying in the frozen semen, lots of money spent surgically inseminating the female, right? One of the dogs, it was the only anywhere semen available, the last breeding unit on this dog.
Mhm,
And actually both of them were, come to think of it. Each one of those surgical inseminations resulted in one puppy each of them.
mhm,
So basically, I spent $8,000 to acquire 2 puppies, one of which I gave away, no money, to my friend who's carrying on my breeding program, and the other one of which um, I didn't turn in to be anything at all.
mhm,
$8,000 for $0 back is
mhm,
the point that I'm making, and
mhm.
I think, I mean, that's not normal, but it's not
It's not unheard
unheard
of.
of or even unusual.
Mm-mm. Sometimes you end up with nothing,
Hmm.
and it's very
That is,
disappointing.
yeah.
When they come in, they've spent all the money. They've spent $5,000 on the stud fee and another $2,000 to ship semen, and then 1,000 to do the timing and 1,000 to do the breeding. And then you ultrasound and you pay for that, and
Hmm.
she's not pregnant.
Hmm.
Then it's heart-wrenching. It's absolutely as exciting as it can possibly be when there's a nice litter, but it's absolutely heart-wrenching when it isn't. And the veterinarians feel every bit as bad as the people who own the dogs. So I don't want it to sound like, oh yeah, there's no puppies. It's a big deal to us as well because we put our reputation on the line every time we
Mm.
do a breeding and walk an owner through that
Hmm.
kind of situation. And then we have a pregnancy. So if you have
Just
a
spend
pregnancy,
some
you've
more
got the
money.
cost. Yeah, you've got the cost of an ultrasound, the cost of a puppy count x-ray so you know how many puppies you're having,
Hmm.
potentially the cost of a C-section, either scheduled or emergency. And
Hmm.
that some of the emergency clinics are now $5,000 to $10,000 for an
Hmm.
emergency C-section.
Hmm.
You may end up with your bitch spayed at that point, which means she's out of your gene pool. Now you have puppies. Okay, now you have to raise them. So that means time off of work to
Hmm.
get her taken care of, to get her whelped, time off of work when the puppies are really young. I take my puppies back and forth to work with me every day, but not everybody can. So, I mean, by the time my puppies leave my house, they've got hundreds of miles on them, but
Yeah.
not everybody can take their dogs to work.
Right.
So you have the cost of that. Then we have all the time that you spend doing early neurological stimulation, cleaning up after them,
Cleaning.
8 gajillion loads of laundry a day, all
Yes.
the extra food, all the extra
Food.
cleanup. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of cleanup. Yeah, they're really good the first 2 weeks, and then it all goes downhill from there. The extra food,
Rapidly.
the extra cost of that. Yep. Then you have the veterinary visit to have them examined to make sure that they're healthy enough to be sold, that you know what you're selling, that the puppy doesn't have a heart murmur or some other condition.
Hmm.
You've got the cost of the health certificates, the shipping,
Vaccine,
all the stuff.
microchips. Yeah.
Yes. And so by the time you're done, I mean, people think that the breeders just take like wheelbarrows full of money to the bank because they see what the price of the puppy is. And I actually have one colleague that breeds, and she says, your puppy from me is free. However, it costs me this much to acquire the mother, the father, do the health testing, do the veterinary care, do all the food, all the stuff.
Mhm.
Maybe you've put insurance on the puppy, you've done all this stuff. So by the time you get done, your puppy isn't free. I'm giving you the puppy, but it cost me $5,000 to get you to this point.
Yeah.
So we have to be realists about what our breeders have invested in these puppies and what they have committed. And they have put their heart and soul into this as well. This isn't just, oh, yeah, I'm raising puppies because it's kind of a fun little hobby. Breeders put heart and soul, everything they have into this. And when you take that puppy, you are buying a part of their heart.
Mhm.
You are putting your family and their family are now melded together for eternity. There's a lot that goes with this.
Doggett simplifies the puppy buying journey by connecting families with the perfect breed and responsible, health-verified breeders. They are the only breeder marketplace that verifies health clearances and responsible breeding practices. Through their personalized puppy matcher tool and matchmaker services, they educate and guide buyers every step of the way, ensuring a seamless process and a perfect match for their lifestyle. From initial breed consultation to introductions with top breeders, Doggett makes responsible puppy ownership easy and stress-free.
I think that's right. And I think it's important that we talk about that, like, okay, you're going to come and you're going to spend $2,500 to acquire your puppy. And that's a pretty in the middle cost of a responsibly bred dog right now. Lots of them are more, a few of them are less.
Prices went
And
up pretty recently. They're going up because of the cost of everything.
yeah, the
Mhm.
cost of everything is going up. And the reality is, we'll just do easy math. Say there's 10 puppies. So technically it's supposed to be a $25,000 return, right? Except that you need to do actual math. $25,000 income against easily $25,000 output, right? I mean, like, sometimes you get a little bit ahead, sometimes you get a little bit behind. In the end, we all sort of hope like heck we can break even, but I mean, that's about it.
Mhm.
Um, I think that is, and like you say, by the time we do the math on the number of hours we put in, I actually like ran the numbers on one litter, and my breed tends to have large litters, and it was like, I don't even know, 10 cents an hour. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Doesn't seem like a good way to spend your time.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Mm-mm. And it doesn't count the litter that had all kinds of problems and I went 72 hours without sleep, right? At all, any sleep at all, because I was,
Mhm.
in the middle of dealing with various and sundry crises. So, um, I think it's important that people understand that, hear that, right? And
Mhm.
and have some understanding that puppies are not toasters, for one thing. And you know, you do get what you pay for.
Mhm. Yeah, and I have one client that he does a wonderful job with his breeding program, with his health screening, with everything. But for an extra $2,500, you can leave your puppy a little bit longer and they'll put the puppy into boot camp and they'll start housebreaking
Mhm,
and
mhm,
crate training and leash walking and all those things. So, there's a lot of ways that breeders function, a lot of ways that they can help you and services that they can offer, but you cannot assume that any of this is inexpensive or free. So I think that's really important. However, the benefits of the purebred or purpose bred dog, of having health screenings and predictability of what you're getting for size, type, color, shape,
temperament.
activity level, personality. Yeah, all those things. It's absolutely worth it to know what you're getting and that they're well socialized. They've been well selected for temperament, for personality, that you're going to have dogs that are happy, healthy, fun dogs to live with because you are making a 15-year commitment.
Mhm,
So when you look back on it and say, okay, I paid $2,500 or 3,000 or whatever it is, but I got 15 years
mhm,
of pure joy, you have to say that's a pretty good return on your investment. Is a puppy an investment? No, really not. But it's a pretty good return on the money that you spent. When you think about how many days of great joy you got out of that,
mhm.
it is worth every penny. And knowing that you've got one from a really good breeder. And the best compliment a breeder can ever have is when you go back and say, I want another one,
Right.
just like the last one. Can
Just
you
like
help
the
me with
last
that?
one.
Hmm.
And, I think that the other part of it that sometimes, uh, in addition to the blood, sweat, and tears, right? Blood, sweat, and tears is hard to put a number on, right?
Oh, yeah.
How do you
Can't quantify it.
quantify blood, sweat, and tears? There's also the part that I talk about, and I have labeled 24/7 tech support.
Hmm.
And essentially, that is when you acquire your puppy from a responsible breeder for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 10 to 15 years. You have someone that you can call on the telephone who will say, you know, I understand he's limping, think about these things, or I understand he has diarrhea, think about these things, or okay, that's a crisis, go see your veterinarian,
Hmm.
or let me help you with crate training, or let me help you with potty training, or whatever it
Right.
is.
Right. And I think a lot of that is really important because your breeder knows what kind of food agrees with them,
Mhm,
what kind
mhm,
of vaccines agree with them, what kind of medications are going to work well for you. They
mhm,
know all the idiosyncratic changes that happen in your dog. They know all the intimacies of what was that puppy like when he was an itty bitty baby,
mhm.
or what was she like when she was growing up. And those really are important keys in streamlining the veterinary care, streamlining the care you give them as a pet owner. There's so much value in that. And you, again, it's really difficult to quantify that. It's just knowing. I get from a number of my breeder clients, I get regular communications.
Mm.
Hey, we sold this dog 9 years ago and now they're having this issue. What do you think? This is what their veterinarian has done. What do you think we need to do next? It's it's really good to have that insight of, I know this line of dogs, the breeder
Mhm,
knows their line of dogs, and
mhm.
this is the direction that you need to start going to try and figure out what's happening.
100%. And okay, so now from the perspective of a veterinarian, put on your veterinarian hat, take off your breeder hat. There you go. Working with the dogs. Talk about, because I believe, based on my own anecdotal experience, but you are going to help us clarify this, that a dog from a well-bred dog from a responsible breeder is going to long term be more enjoyable, yes, in terms of living with it because it's had all of the early neurological stimulation and early socialization and training and all these things, but it's also easier with the veterinarian, right? Like, talk about the difference in outlay from the owner's perspective from a dog that's reasonably healthy and you know where it came from, and a
Mm.
random bred dog that you don't know anything about it from the veterinarian's perspective.
You know, there's health, but there's also temperament and personality, and for me, that's the biggest part,
Mhm,
is we have so many dogs that come through rescue, shelters, all these things. We don't know anything about how they were raised, we don't know anything about what their parents had for temperament.
mhm,
They're fearful, they may have a history of biting or separation anxiety or a multitude of other serious behavioral issues, and those are really difficult because we don't know anything about where they came from and we don't know anything about how they got there, and it's
mhm,
really hard to work with some of those. Those are not the
mhm.
typical dogs that I see that come bounding in the front door, pulling their owner toward the exam room, running in, jumping on the exam table, eagerly waiting for some cookies and some treats and some fun stuff. Do we see purpose-bred dogs and purebred dogs that have behavior issues? Yes. What percentage of the dogs that I see that have behavioral issues are rescue? Much, much higher. I can walk into the exam room and without looking at the history of the dog, I can pick out 90% of the time who came through rescues, shelters, that kind of thing, versus who came through a well-bred breeding program.
Mhm.
It's just, it's written all over them. And it's about how they look, how they act, how they are built, how they're made, what their temperament is.
Mhm.
There's such a difference. And I would love to say that every dog I see loves to come to the vet clinic. That would make my job easy. I'd have half the amount of staff I do now. My life would be great, but it doesn't work that way. The vast majority of dogs with serious behavior problems are from unknown backgrounds.
Yeah, right. That's random bred,
Yep.
unknown, unknown from anything. And I think that takes a toll on the people who have them. I talk to
Oh,
people like you all the time, but the person is like, well, I've done this and this and this, and I can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay.
mhm.
Talk us through that piece of it, as you're
But
contemplating, oh, I'm just gonna pick a puppy out. Why?
well, or an adult dog. And I think a lot of the people that have those random bred dogs that have serious behavior and health issues are less likely to go out and get another dog going forward. They've been burned, they've had a
Mhm,
difficult situation. They may simply not want to go back into pet ownership, and that's hard
mhm,
because there are such great joys of owning dogs. They're such wonderful social lubricants, so much fun to live with. They get you out of bed in the morning. I was out shoveling the sidewalk with my little farm dog today. She was wearing her little Aurora vest, so she's all warm and toasty. She's looking at me like, okay, I think it's time to go in. I'm like, no, no, we're not done yet. She's like, okay, I'm good. But I think that's really important that people have that relationship with their dog. And
mhm.
if you've had a bad experience with a dog with bad temperament, bad issues, it's been a dog that you've had to structure your life around.
Yeah.
You've had to not have friends over. You can't have family in
Mhm,
for Christmas. You have to schedule everything around the dog. You can't do all the normal stuff that normal people do. I think that's a ding on pet ownership going forward. I think a lot of people are reluctant to do it again.
And again, I mean, I can tell you my own story. We had a German Wirehair Pointer, actually, that came in through rescue that we pulled from a shelter who had God only knows what kind of life before. And, we were working with the National Wirehair Rescue, but this dog literally changed the structure of our lives. We could
Mhm,
not go anywhere unless he came
mhm,
with. We could
mhm,
at all, period. And the most severe separation anxiety I've ever seen.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
and how that structurally changed our lives. And I mean, we knew it going in, and it was still
Right.
a shock.
Right. Right. And that's not the way a dog should impact your life. They should be a joy. They should be fun. Yeah, you have to be responsible that you say, oh, yeah, it's been 8 hours. I need to go home, or 4 hours. I need to go home and let him out. But that's different than saying, I can't leave the house without him, or I can't invite anybody in, or if the UPS guy comes to the door, he's going to attack them, or, all the really unfortunate things that we can see as behavioral issues. So I think it's really important that we let people know that there is another kind of pet ownership if that's what they're struggling with, that the next time they go to get a dog, they should talk to their veterinary clinic. They should do some reading and some research. They should go meet multiple breeders and multiple dogs. They should make a very careful selection,
They
because that
should
is a
stop
huge
by
commitment.
Doggie, our sponsor, Doggie,
There.
and
Yeah,
select a breed that's going to fit their lifestyle, and let Doggie help them find a good responsible breeder. That's what they're there for.
for sure.
For sure. All right. Thanks, Marty. Good to
Of
see you.
course.
Good
Thank you.
to visit with you on this topic, and we'll catch you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Marty and Laura Show. We're excited to bring you these unique, fun, fact-based conversations about pet health. We hope you'll join us on social. Stop by the website to sign up for an extra tip of the week for your pet. While you're at it, do us a favor, please, and leave a review wherever you find your podcasts. The Marty and Laura Show is produced by Pure Dog Talk, Inc., sound design and editing by Premium Audio Services.